Grab some water. Freaking hot.
That might have been the worst podcast I've ever done, but maybe a good one too.
The Joe Rogan Experience has been running for over 15 years now, with almost 2,500 episodes and just as many guests along the way. And somewhere in there, a few of them have gone so badly off the rails that they've become permanent landmarks in podcast history. Some of them ruined their own careers in real time, some of them dragged Rogan's reputation down with them, and one of them is currently on trial for a gruesome murder. So I've put together what I think is the definitive top 10 worst guests in JRE history. And just to be clear up front, this isn't a list of the most controversial guests. That's a different video, and honestly, most of Rogan's controversial guests are actually quite entertaining, so I've left those out. I've also tried to steer clear of politics as well, but as you'll see, that's almost impossible to do now on JRE these days. But overall, this list is about consequences. Either the guest came out the other side worse than they went in, or the actual appearance itself produced something so disastrous that the episode itself became a permanent stain on the JRE catalogue. Also, this is my personal list, so it's going to be different to yours, and I thought a lot about this, so if you have a different opinion, then let me know in the comments below. I should also say this is going to be a long one, obviously. We're going through 10 guests, each with their own backstory and JRE appearance and also the aftermath. In some cases, the guest made multiple appearances, so this is closer to one of my Patreon videos than a regular YouTube upload, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of these style videos on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that button and also hit the like button if you end up enjoying this video. But if you want to see more of my longer form deep dives, the link to my Patreon is also in the description below. That's where I drop my uncensored breakdowns of comedy specials, Kill Tony reviews, podcast breakdowns, and all the other stuff that I can't post on YouTube. And so with all of that in mind, let's get straight into it.
I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release.
Perjury Patel, number 1.
We're starting this list with the current director of the FBI. Actually, is he still the director of the FBI? I'm going to have to check that one. But here we are in 2026, and the head of the most powerful law enforcement agency in the US walked into Joe Rogan's studio just last year and crashed out so hard on the Epstein files that the clips are still doing the rounds. Like, this shit is never going away. And that was the opening act from the man who 6 months earlier was on Fox News telling everyone he had the client list sitting on his desk just waiting to be released. Now, suddenly, the case is closed, Epstein topped himself, and the American public will get whatever scraps the FBI deems appropriate.
Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? Because
Yo, what's up, G Money? How you doing?
Problem is, there's been like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you?
We running, bro.
If it existed?
We are, but been slacking. Same. I thought I did that. I need to figure it out, man. I need to just sit down and figure it out to get the chat to pop up. Thanks for tuning in, man.
There it is. Do you really think I wouldn't give it to you if it
I don't even know.
existed?
I don't even
He
get
uses this move
notifications.
maybe
It's-
a dozen
it's-
times
it's-
across the interview,
cooked.
deflecting with a question rather than answering one. And
Happy to
in
hear it,
Rogan's
man.
defense, I mean, what's he supposed
Like
to
this
do?
channel.
Push back?
This channel, podcast cringe. It's just
Re-victimize.
keeping
women.
up with fucking
We're not going to put that shit back out. there.
podcasts.
It's not
It's
happening.
mostly
'Cause then he
Joe
will.
Rogan.
Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine.
It's funny.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing
I fucking hate Cash
felony
Patel, bro. He's like one of the
on
worst.
and I'm in charge, don't you think we'd see it?
If you have access to it.
If I have it. Period.
Right.
If I have it. If
Bro
I
was
have
saying nothing.
And is there video from the island?
it. Not of what you want. The
What the fuck
people
does that
out there
mean?
Have filled the void.
So
with,
what? So what do you
"Can't wait
have?
to see X, Y, or Z?
Right, speculation.
And I'm like, here's the other thing I've been asking for, right? Open. If you have information on this, call us. Tell us. The best resource we have is the American people in the world.
Yeah, podcast
This
cringe.
one's the most bullshit excuse I've ever heard for sitting
He's
on
cool,
evidence
dude.
of crimes.
He's pretty
we
real.
can't show you because it would
My
re-victimize
opinion.
the women. Except the women in those files were already witnesses in the Maxwell trial. Their accounts are public record. Nobody's asking him to broadcast their faces. They're asking if there's footage of the men. And Cash knows that. He's stalling. Then Joe asks the obvious follow-up, is there any footage from the island? And listen to the answer carefully.
Now, I understand that you would never re-victimize these women and show this footage. But is there footage?
Outside of the only thing I can say right now is if there was footage of anyone doing anything else, we would have opened a case.
Is it possible that there was footage that you just will never have access to because they've already got
Anything's possible. Bro, why do I
That's not a
remember him
no,
saying that?
That's a yes, but I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly.
And you can see by the look on Joe's face that he's working it out in real time that the guy he campaigned for, the guy his audience trusted to release the truth, is sitting 2 feet away from him doing the exact same dance every
remember
previous
watching this,
administration
just like-
has done before him. And here's my whole thing with that episode.
I don't even know how I
especially
watched
the way Cash
it. Like, it
Patel
was just
framed it.
the
He
most-
sat there telling Joe that they couldn't
just the
release
worst
the footage
fucking
because it would
episode
re-victimize the
ever.
women. He said
I mean, no, they all do the same thing. Like, it's every guest fucking Joe Rogan has had for the past like 3 years.
he'd hand it over if it existed.
Just,
He
I
was
don't
acting
know,
like a
like
man who'd done his
propagandists, I guess,
homework
the best
and
word.
reached an honest conclusion. Except
Not
as
even
we found out a
conversations.
few months later, when he had to testify in front of Congress, he hadn't actually read the FBI interview summaries from the alleged victims himself. Those interviews exist, and the victims gave statements naming at least 20 men they say Epstein trafficked them to. Patel never personally reviewed them, he never met with the women, and somehow he's confident there's nothing credible in any of that. Meanwhile, those same women had been asking to meet with him, asking to meet with the president, asking for someone in the FBI to actually investigate their claims, and the FBI director was on the biggest podcast in the world, telling Joe Rogan there's nothing to see here without actually having looked himself. That is beyond wild or crazy, it's just fucking sad. I cannot begin to tell you how bad that is. It's so much worse than just being disingenuous. It's full-blown gaslighting with malice. But then there was the moment that Cash Patel,
I wonder
director
what
of
the other people are gonna
FBI,
be.
declared that he needed to stay in his lane and not comment when young Jamie pulled up the brewing beef between Elon and Trump.
We were talking about fake news.
Oh shit! This
This
happened. Cash Patel was on Joe Rogan when Elon Musk tweeted that Trump was in the Epstein files, and fucking Jamie brings it up.
Because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Talking about fake news. This is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat, Joe. Want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the.
I'm so curious what like Jamie's actual beliefs are. Like, and you could tell he's like not a fucking dumbass. So like he probably has decent opinions and stuff. So I can't even. It's crazy to think that he just works for Joe and like he has to fucking bite his tongue all the time.
The really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation.
What is
between Elon
have a
and
nice day, DJD? Someone should take his phone.
I'm not
Jesus Christ,
participating in
that's
that
a crazy thing
convo.
to say. How does he know?
Fucking
Does he
pussy
know
bitch.
that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? I mean, does he have access to the
I'm
Epstein
just,
files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside.
What are they doing?
Well, that's exactly in your pay
My
grade.
lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't.
That's your lane.
I mean, I understand he owns Twitter. I think it's bad for your mental health. I think posting things public all day and arguing with people all day is bad for you.
Well, you raise a great point. Sorry to cut you off.
We
Huge,
need
big
AI
brain joke.
experts. Upwork puts
whatever you call it, the little shield things, are so much faster.
The timing on this is genuinely incredible. The director of the FBI is on the biggest podcast in the world running cover for the administration on Epstein, and in real time, the world's richest man who fell out with Trump that very afternoon drops the nuclear option on Twitter, and Cash's response after a long pause is, "I'm staying out of the Trump-Elon thing, that's way outside of my lane." Outside his lane. He is the FBI. The guy investigating Epstein is Kash Patel, and whether the president is in the files is somehow outside his lane. He kept his job, but he never recovered from that. And speaking of Elon Musk, he's next on the list. Now, this one's a bit different to the rest of the list because Elon's appearance didn't ruin his career, it launched the next phase of it. But I'd argue the consequences of him going on JRE in 2018 are still playing out in real time, and they've been bad for pretty much everyone.
So is that a joint?
Fucking Elon, bro.
Or is it a
makes
cigar?
sense.
No,
Okay. I mean, it's legal, right?
it's totally legal.
Okay.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? Is tobacco and
What is he doing? Fucking tasting it?
September 2018. The world's richest man takes one polite hit of a joint, holds it about 2 inches from
blunt.
his face like a kid afraid of getting caught, doesn't even inhale by the way, and a fundamental shift happens. Elon completely dismantled the whole concept of what a billionaire was supposed to look like in public. The next day, Tesla stock dropped nearly 9%, NASA opened a workplace safety review, the SEC was already on him for the funding secured tweet, and now he was sitting on the biggest podcast in the world, sharing a joint with Joe Rogan. And it ended up being a career-defining moment, just not the kind anyone expected or wanted, because what actually happened in that studio is Elon worked out something about himself. He learned that being weird in public was a feature, not a bug, and people at the time loved him for it. But then as time went on, as we all know, he turned out to be a massive weirdo who went full cringe. And every subscriber of this channel knows you never go full cringe.
Was this the beginning of the end for Elon? He started really just being. I guess so, right? I feel like I didn't hate him when this happened.
He's clearly addicted to a few different things, one of which is attention, and now he can't get enough of it. And that's why he made this list. I personally believe that his relationship with Joe Rogan and all the publicity he got from his multiple appearances, particularly that first one, gave him the confidence to be himself, which, as it turns out, is
Kinda
a
true, I
complete
guess.
disaster.
But this wasn't his first time on there. I guess the memification of this episode was made Elon just fucking. Oh my god.
We want a future where comedy is legal. Obviously, as a comedian, I think you would agree.
I
God,
definitely
did you see
agree.
him, bro?
Comedy is legal. We want a future where comedy is legal.
That's pretty
As
funny.
a comedian, I think you would agree.
I definitely agree.
We want to legalize
Yeah.
comedy, you know?
Yes.
God damn, bro.
Yep, this is what
High
we're
as
dealing
shit.
with 7 years
Off the
later.
ketamine.
A man who created an AI chatbot for his own entertainment. Even Rogan was sitting there cringing like Elon got off on his AI girlfriend roasting him. You know,
This is the
he
same
loves that
episode?
shit, right?
It's when
Actually
it's so
happened
fat?
in that studio is but from that time. Loved him for it.
Oh, he's wearing a different shirt, right?
Comedy is legal.
Yes.
Obviously, as a comedian.
Whole legalizing comedy
He's wearing a
era,
jacket.
which has
I
aged
don't know.
like milk. He genuinely believes he's a comedy podcaster now, and the scariest part is nobody around him is allowed to tell him otherwise because then they'll probably disappear. But trust me, it gets worse. Do a shot every time they say woke mind virus. I made a compilation for you.
They were pushing
73 times.
a nihilistic, anti-civilizational mind virus to the world. And you can see the results of that mind virus on the streets of San Francisco. Essentially, the woke mind virus retreated to blue sky.
Yeah, it's hilarious that the mind virus infected the most potent computer program that we've ever devised.
Well, the woke mind virus was programmed into it, and all the data on the internet, which already is very, very sort of has a lot of woke mind virus stuff on the internet. It's pretty hard to fully extract the woke mind virus. Google's been marinating the woke mind virus for a long time.
Could you program?
I don't know where I heard it, but I remember hearing someone say, like, when people say sort of a lot, like they say that to, like, maybe sound kind of like they're being thoughtful or introspective or deep.
Very sort of has a lot of woke mind virus stuff on
But then they overuse it and they're just fucking buffoons.
the
They're
internet.
just,
It's pretty hard to fully extract the woke mind virus. Google's
I don't
been
know. That's the first time he said it, but I feel like Elon Musk probably, he sounds smarter just because of how he talks sometimes.
marinating the woke mind virus for a long time.
Could you program rational thought into AI where it could recognize how these psychological patterns got adopted and how this stuff became a mind virus and how it became a social contagion?
If you don't actively push for the truth, and you simply train on the all the bullshit that's on the internet,
AKA
which is a lot of
Grok.
woke mind virus bullshit, the AI will regurgitate those same beliefs.
I don't know.
That has to be the most brain-dead political vocabulary on the planet, and it came directly out of Elon discovering that Joe Rogan would nod along to absolutely anything. I mean, that's one of those things that really brought these two together. Anytime Rogan brings up Elon,
Sit down,
he
little
immediately
bud.
glazes him for saving free speech by buying Twitter. It really makes you
Although,
wonder
what's
what
up,
the
bruv?
real mind virus is, you
Yeah,
know?
dude.
And
Two
then
of them.
there's this, which I genuinely can't explain, so for all of you out there with misophonia like myself, chuck your headphones on and turn up the volume.
Oh my god.
That really hits the spot.
That's legit.
Bro, they shouted out this pizza spot. Imagine just being a pizza spot in Austin and then, like, Joe Rogan shouts it out on his podcast. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder what the bump they got. The JRE bump at the pizza spot.
I'm so hungry.
It's good though, right?
I'm not gonna include it in the clip.
The combination of pineapple and anchovy.
Oh, you're saying Gemini.
Yeah.
Which one's that? That's, I don't even know. Is that Google? Bro, can we skip past this shit?
Good, Jamie. You want one? I would be offended.
Goggles. I want to see if they shouted out the pizza
Alright.
spot.
It's hard to miss with pizza, frankly.
Unlike the creeps who used to run Twitter, I don't care if someone has a different opinion than me. I don't
Bro.
know either.
Okay. Good to know.
This is terrible for sound.
We just
Maybe I'm just gonna have to deal with it.
like the subtitle chewing sounds.
This is my last piece.
Subtitle chewing sounds.
People are gonna have to deal with it. This is my last piece. Are you taking it away?
The world's richest man eating a pineapple and anchovy pizza ASMR style into a microphone.
Anchovies,
on the biggest
ew.
podcast in the world, and Rogan says this is terrible for sound. You think? But like I said, you can draw a straight line from that 2018 appearance to the pizza in 2024 to him buying Twitter for $44 billion to turn it into his own personal
44
hype
billion for
machine,
real?
to him posting 900 times a day, to him standing next to Trump at the inauguration, to the chainsaw at CPAC, to him liking
Crazy, I
his own
forgot about
AI's
that.
tweets about how he's smarter than Einstein, to him dropping the Trump is in the Epstein files bomb during Kash Patel's episode, and then
I wanna see a
claiming 3
non-political
hours later
guest
it was
on this
just
list.
sarcasm. Joe Rogan didn't create Elon
Everyone's-
Musk, but the version of
All his
Elon
guests are
Musk has
political.
been-
Because one of the interviews I'm expecting to be on this list is Steven Crowder. Because that shit was really bad, I feel like. But We'll see.
Making your life
But he's
worse
also
for the
kinda
last 7
political, I
years
guess.
was absolutely born in that studio. Before JRE, he was just an awkward tech guy who occasionally tweeted something weird. After JRE, he was a podcast personality who happened to own a car and space company. The priorities flipped, and they never flipped back. He's at number 9 because technically he came out of JRE richer and more powerful than ever, but if consequences includes unleashing something on the world that we can't put back, then Elon belongs on that list. And honestly, you could argue he belongs higher. But if you've been on the internet long enough, you probably remember a TV show called Adam Ruins Everything. The whole format was him interrupting people at parties to tell them weird shit. So naturally, he sounds like an awesome JRE guest, right? You'd think this is a guy who can hold his own in a debate, right? I mean, how bad could it be?
Did you see our video on the moon landing?
No.
Oh, this is one of my favorite videos we ever did. So, it's about how the moon landed.
Next to the president? You're talking about the when he almost got assassinated? Oh yeah.
This is the moon landing could not
Psychedelic.
have been faked.
Who is this guy? Oh, he was just talking
Would have
about
been
it.
harder to fake the moon landing than it would have been to actually go to the moon, because the technology to fake it did not exist.
So he kicks things off by telling Joe Rogan the moon landing couldn't have been faked. And look, in fairness, this is something Joe genuinely cares about, but Adam manages to royally fuck this up. So we'll come back to that in a moment, because this entire episode was riddled with awkward and cringy moments. And if you thought it was fun taking a shot every time Joe and Elon said woke mind virus, try taking a shot every time this guy says or ah. This is brutal.
I don't think that
Brutal.
there is such a thing.
The distinction where we
Field. I think we decide what kind of playing field we want to have.
sure, but we
and-
do make the distinction where we don't allow men to compete in women's divisions.
And I think that distinction may be breaking down a bit, right? And I think it may be time to break down that distinction a little
so
bit.
you think that males should be able to compete in the women's division of weightlifting?
No, I don't necessarily. There's a lot of stuff to break down, right? And I'm not an
I
expert on
remember
the
this
subject,
guy.
right?
Right.
So it's just sort of off the top of my
He's not the expert, but he was so that was the whole podcast. I think was about debating fucking trans people in sports or whatever, or girls in guy sports, vice versa.
head. Now that people are starting to understand that being trans is just a way that people are, right? They're just people who are trans, and this is something that we're going to accept and support, right? You're seeing folks transition much earlier age,
Okay.
But then
and so if someone is transitioning from the age of 7 years old, their body situation can be very different than the one that you postulated, right?
Within 20 minutes, he's decided this is the moment to argue that men aren't actually better than women at sports. And this is where it falls off a cliff, because his argument, and I want you to really listen to this, is that basketball is biased towards men because of the height of the basket and the way the ball moves around.
No way. He said that for real.
I heard a really great. This is just the beginning of a thought, right? But it came up.
The best part of a
somewhere. I was
thought.
talking to
The beginning.
some people about this. Our assumption that men have an advantage over women, right? In sports. In sports, yeah.
It's assumption?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me expand on it. So many of the sports were designed for male bodies, right? They're optimized for male bodies, right? Basketball, for example, right?
How is that optimized for male bodies?
It's like the height of the basket,
You wanna just start
the
fucking
way
making
that
shit
the
up?
ball moves around. If
The way
we're,
the ball moves around?
if we're gonna say that if we're creating sports and the sports are sort of tuned to the physiological differences
I think
of
we're
men
splitting
rather than
hairs
women.
here. We're talking about power, speed.
Look how patient Joe was back then, bro. Like this guy is not saying anything with rational at all. Like it's pretty dumb. Now Joe Rogan would just fucking he said you're splitting hairs. He's just not making any sense at all. Now I feel like he would just fucking I don't know, shit on him, or what would he do now? I just feel like he would get a lot more backlash. He just doesn't have people like this on anymore, so I don't even know how he would react.
Athleticism, all those, there's an advantage.
It would not be understanding at all.
The way the ball moves around. He says it, then immediately starts laughing because even he can hear how stupid it sounds the moment it leaves his mouth. But instead of walking it back, he doubles down, and from that point onwards, every single time Joe pushes back on something, Adam makes the same excuse. I'm not an expert on the subject, I haven't done that topic on the show, I haven't looked at the research myself. It becomes kind of like a little tick. It becomes the running theme of the entire episode. A guy whose whole TV brand is being a smug know-it-all sitting on a podcast going, actually, I don't really know much about this. It's kind of like if you took a TED Talk guru off the stage and interviewed them, you'd realize they just memorized the script and don't actually know what they're talking about. But hey, I'm not gonna lie, this guy is peak JRE guest.
We talked to a forensic film guy, and he walked us through it. He's like, look, the shadows are parallel, right? They're not divergent.
Forensic film guy.
So wait a minute. You know that's like one of the big arguments for the moon hoax?
The moon.
Is that the shadows intersect? The shadows indicate multiple light sources?
Well, that is because when...
But that's one of the main arguments.
That is a... I believe that's reflected light. Okay, I'm getting past my memory of this segment.
Yeah, dude, I used to be a full-on moon hoaxer. I fully believed we never went to the moon.
I shouldn't have brought this up.
I watched the documentary that was on Fox TV while I was on News Radio.
Can I just say News Radio is one of my favorite sitcoms ever, by the way. That is a unacknowledged classic. I have watched the whole series like 3 times.
What did he watch 3 times?
I'm sorry, just go ahead.
A Joe Rogan sitcom?
That was on Fox TV. Fully believed we never went to the moon.
I shouldn't have brought this up.
I watched the documentary that was on Fox TV while I was on News Radio.
Can I just say News Radio is one of my favorite sitcoms ever, by the way. That is a unacknowledged classic. I have watched the whole series like 3 times.
Unacknowledged classic.
That show is so... I'm sorry, just go ahead. I just had to say that much.
Well, anyway...
The funniest part is the ending. Adam tries to drop a fact he picked up from a forensic film guy about parallel shadows in the moon landing footage. Joe immediately recognizes this as a hoax, a talking point. Adam realizes what he's done, starts panicking, and bails out by complimenting Joe on a sitcom from the 90s. And it worked. Rogan ate that shit up. But that's the entire episode in a nutshell. This guy was the OG I'm not an expert. He's at number 8 because the consequences here are kind of soft. He didn't lose his career or go to jail, but the episode permanently labeled him as the guy who got dismantled in real time on
Dust on the
basketball.
moon.
And anytime someone wants to mock Adam Conover, this is the reference point that gets pulled up. But moving into number 7 was the Time political commentator and self-identified comedian Dave Smith. Produced one of the funniest episodes of the year.
Dave Smith?
And Dave Smith
this is when they debated. Bro, every episode is just political now. Like every, I guess no, it wasn't always. Bro. Okay.
Of this category. That, of course, goes to Douglas Murray. Now, before I get into the clip...
Was he? No, he was doing the opposite. He was basically saying that there wasn't technology enough to determine, or that we couldn't have faked it, basically. That any footage was not able to be created to, yeah. But I feel like Joe, I don't think he believes, but he's just defensive of his conspiracies, I guess. And also the guy just wasn't making any sense, so I don't know, I couldn't tell because they were debating different things. The trans sports thing was one, and then that. I'm not woke. It hasn't though, bro. I feel like before, like, Trump, like, it wasn't really that political. It was, but I mean, it was more her mix of like other shit, MMA and whatever else.
I want to be fair to Douglas here.
Now it's like 99%.
I actually agree with his core argument here.
Or 100%.
Rogan really has been platforming amateurs to spout nonsense about geopolitics. He really does have a track record of letting unqualified guests rewrite history without any pushback. That's a legitimate...
Any comedian that he had? Like any of his friends? Fucking Protect Our Parks. That's not political. They don't do that show anymore. They had fucking... They had a couple. Now he inserts it in everything. That's the thing now too. Like it'll be a podcast with friends or whatever, or with a comedian, and they'll just spend the whole time talking about politics. It didn't used to be like that. It would maybe bring one thing up or two, but now it's the whole fucking thing.
The problem is Douglas is the wrong messenger for that argument, because the moment he opens his mouth, you immediately understand why Joe started platforming amateurs in the first place. The credentialed intellectual class produced this guy, so he ended up being the wrong guy with the right message.
Have you been to the crossing point?
Been.
When were you last there at all?
I've never been.
You've never been?
That guy kind of got shit on.
Well, am I not allowed to talk about it now?
This is where the "have you ever been" meme came from. Douglas tries to pull rank early in the conversation by asking Dave if he's been to the crossing points. Dave just calmly hits him with, well, am I not allowed to talk about it now? And the whole thing collapses after that. That is precisely the kind of elitist gatekeeping that Rogan's been pushing back against for a decade.
No, I agree. That's my point. Is that now it is. Now every episode is political. Absolutely. I agree. That's my point. Is that it didn't used to be. And this is the video about top 10 or the top worst guests of all time, which so far have included everything from past 5 years and have been all political. That one guy before this was an era where he wasn't as political. That's why I feel like Joe was a little bit more not as fucking combative to whatever. Like now in this interview, for example, like he's super defensive of his ideology.
He really does have a track record of letting unqualified guests rewrite history without any pushback. That's a legitimate criticism, and a lot of us have been making the same point for years. The problem is Douglas is the wrong messenger for that argument, because the moment he opens his mouth, you immediately understand why Joe started platforming amateurs in the first place. The credentialed intellectual class produced this guy, so he ended up being the wrong guy with the right message.
Us there at all? Have you been to the crossing point?
Pull rank early. That is precisely the kind of elitist gatekeeping that use experience as the threshold for who's allowed to speak. Dave makes him say it out loud, and it sounds exactly as condescending as it actually is. And it sets the tone for everything else that follows.
Look, I just feel we should get it out straight away.
For years now, it's the whole mothership ecosystem. The problem is Douglas doesn't have the receipts ready. He can't name a specific incident, he can't quote a specific bit, he can't point to a specific moment where one of these guys did exactly what
if
he's
you're down,
describing.
Bro, I'm gonna just watch this and get off. If you're on right now, I'm down.
So a genuinely sharp critique just floats
there.
You gotta
take my dog down a little bit.
Unanchored, and Dave Smith gets to bat it away by pretending the behavior Douglas is describing doesn't exist. If only there was a channel that was documenting all of this shit over the years. Anyway, so this was a clean win for Dave on the night, but only because Douglas walked into a fight he
I'm just gonna be on for like 30 minutes more, an hour. Just gonna watch this.
Have absolutely demolished.
But download it. We should run it sometime.
Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them?
You can't time travel, but you can. But you can travel.
Okay, but so what? So what's the point? Like,
can't time travel back to the Nazi era.
Let's go back to the blockade.
But you could go to the Middle East and actually visit it.
Okay,
it's
the
not
World Bank said in 1996 for the 1 year of the blockade.
Now the libertarians are quoting the World Bank. I love it.
It doesn't mean anything. This is a non-argument. Yes, I'm saying the World Bank did their own analysis of this, and they said that it was a
boring, bro. Where's fucking Candace Owens and fucking?
I will.
The World Bank.
By the end, he's interrupting Dave constantly. Joe is having to physically referee the conversation, telling Douglas to stop talking and let the other guy finish his sentence. The calm, measured intellectual brand has fully adept donors and spent 10 and the week at points.
Tim Dillon made it.
Became one of the most clipped JRE moments of the year, and the week after the episode dropped, Tim Dillon went on JRE and the two of them spent 10 minutes mocking him. When Tim Dillon's mocking you for fun on the same podcast he went on to lecture everyone about credibility, you've definitely lost the plot. Like I said though, he had the right message, but he was so smug, unprepared, and so visibly uncomfortable with anyone disagreeing with him that he made the people he was warning about look like the reasonable ones by comparison. That's honestly a pretty big achievement and a massively...
Was he? He was never on. Was he on? He was never on. The throat goat Kirk is crazy. Was Charlie Kirk was never on fucking JRE, was he?
Opportunity. But moving into number 6, we've got one of Rogan's OG experts. If you've ever watched a Netflix documentary about the pyramids and thought to yourself, wait, this guy doesn't actually have any qualifications for this.
The Dibble guy?
Congratulations, you've encountered Graham Hancock. Hancock is a journalist by training who spent the last 30 years building a career on the idea that there was an advanced civilization that existed before recorded history and that mainstream archaeology is a giant conspiracy to suppress this truth. He's been on JRE a bunch of times. He's had a Netflix series called Ancient Apocalypse, and for years he was treated by...
I know this lore. They had a debate. He was pretty much embarrassed all the time.
Understand what modern archaeology is about, and so I'm gonna try to...
This guy is just way too too just proper. Like he... And Graham's not the easiest person to debate with, I feel like, because he's also kind of like... He's a chill dude, but
get that across while here, you know.
He has a lot of flaws in his.
And Graham, everybody knows you. You've been on this podcast,
and his theories.
Oh, I'm very happy to introduce the world.
Flint Dibble, aka the Dibbler,
sick name, by the way.
calmly introduces himself as an actual archaeologist. Hancock thanks Joe for putting him in front of the world, and then it all goes sideways. But before we get to the carnage, it's worth remembering how long this relationship between Joe and Hancock has been going on for.
The internet has been a very fascinating thing for me in the many years that I've been on it. But one of the most fascinating things about it is the ability to get in touch with people that, if
young Joe,
younger, like a long time ago, there was no chance I would be able to sit down with you and do a conversation.
That was way back in 2011 on episode 142, back when the podcast was still mostly weed talk. Joe gave Hancock a platform he was never going to get on legacy media. Hancock built a Netflix show off the back of it, and by the time the Dibbler debate rolled around in 2024, he had made multiple appearances on JRE. The thing about Graham Hancock is his whole career depends on people not pulling on the threads of his theories, because the second they do, there's
literally just going in and dying here.
And Flint had been pulling on those threads in public for months before the debate, and Hancock had been responding the way he always does. Not by engaging with the evidence or the arguments, but by accusing the archaeologists of trying to silence him.
Archaeologist Flint Dibble says Hancock's claims reinforce white supremacist ideas, stripping indigenous people of their rich heritage, and instead giving credit to aliens or white people. Actually, I've never...
Did you really say that?
No, I said that this idea of Atlantis, the way it goes back 200 years, it has been used for the...
This is Hancock's whole go-to move. Flint's actual position was that the idea of Atlantis has historically been used to push white supremacist ideas, which is true, that's actually been documented, but Hancock reframes it as Flint personally accusing him of being a white supremacist. It's a sleight of hand and misrepresents.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in this lore.
Acts offended at the misinterpretation he just invented himself.
Society of American Archaeology, they're saying that I embolden extreme voices that misrepresent archaeological knowledge in order to spread false historical narratives that are overtly misogynistic, chauvinistic, racist, and anti-Semitic. I mean, you apply those labels to somebody who
and do we say
actually not, which and
people just want to win, and they don't want. He played fast and nation. Flint just
he let up.
Now, no idea.
And then he had him back on, bro, without Flint Dibble, the GOAT, and they just shit on him the whole time.
He currently available. It's about 4,000 years old.
About 6,000.
6,000. Not be
the number of ancient shipwrecks discovered, and that he lied about preservation in cold water. Graham had Joe really thinking that Flint had pulled a fast one on them during the false claim. Accusation is a confession with these guys.
He accused me with the shipwreck thing where he says, well, but in the Ice Age, we do have evidence of humans moving overseas with ships, and we don't have their ships,
oh, yes,
right?
He did raise that
and
as
so,
well.
But the reality is, this is disingenuous because the way archaeologists hypothesize about those ships is they're basically rafts or canoes. So they're not going to be distinguishable from just logs that we do get, because organic material does preserve underwater. in many different contexts. It can. Our earliest example of human modified.
You're telling me this guy is fucking lying? I don't buy it for a second. This dude knows what he's talking about.
And so Flint had to defend himself on someone else's podcast on a show called Decoding the Gurus because Rogan wouldn't have him back on. And what he explains is that Hancock's gotcha moment wasn't a gotcha at all.
Oh my God, calculated.
You lose the debate publicly, you come back to a friendlier room and pretend you actually won, and your host, who was sitting in the same studio for both conversations, just lets it happen. And the part that really annoys me is what happened to Flint after. He had to defend himself on someone else's show while going through cancer treatment, and Joe Rogan in a separate JRE episode mocked the Dibbler for looking weak and claimed that this is
crazy. That is crazy. Fuck Joe for that.
While the man was in chemo.
He calls him weak. A guy he was not his friend, but they were amicable. He had him on the podcast.
Valley girl at heart. And so Graham Hancock's
Justice
not on the
for
list because he asked for
Flint Dibble.
He's on the list because he asked for it, lost it, then came back to gaslight everyone who watched it, and Joe, the supposed truth seeker, helped him do it. But from
Screw you, Joe. Not cool.
To another. Patrick Bet David is the founder of Valuetainment,
an
online media company that, depending on which page of his website you go to, exists to teach you how to build wealth, how to win at life, or how to identify your enemies wisely. He made his money from a multi-level marketing insurance company, which he refers to in interviews as a financial services firm. He's been on JRE multiple times, and one time he turned up armed with the most blatantly transactional gift basket anyone has ever brought to the studio.
You got him like a frame of Kennison or something?
I got you,
like a frame portrait of...
gifts that I got you here. I think one of them may make
Lenny
it on the wall.
Bruce.
It's a competition because you got like 100 pieces sitting around that's not on the wall.
Okay.
So we'll see what's going to happen. First of all,
watch how he frames all of this. I want to give you the gifts that I got you here, and then the line about how one of them might make it on the wall. He's trying to position the gifts like as if there's a competition. He wants his stuff up next to all the other things Joe keeps around the studio. He wants the camera passing over his contribution every time someone makes a clip about Joe's setup. Bro was angling for some prime real estate product placement, but after all the gift giving and fart sniffing, the truth eventually came to the surface.
You later on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Anytime, brother. So.
It's the most shit anybody's ever given me.
Really? There you go.
It's
yeah.
like Christmas.
I got that for you. By the way, my book is coming out in December. I mean, you can't buy
Bruh, right after. Wasted no time. By the way, my book. Let me plug my book after I give you all these gifts.
The first copy of Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And my first copy.
I got 3 copies.
I'm giving to you, brother.
Thank you.
Again, people can't buy till December 5th, but
don't worry, I got it.
To you.
And there's the punchline. One of the gifts is an advance copy of his own book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, which he makes sure to mention is coming out December 5th several times because the entire production was building to that point. He gave Joe the book before anyone else could buy it. So generous, right? Also extremely on brand for a man whose book is literally titled Choose Your Enemies Wisely, sitting in Joe Rogan's studio, choosing Joe Rogan very wisely. This was what a transactional friendship
Choose your
looks like, but
fucking
it wasn't just Joe Rogan who
podcast
PBD was
friends
trying to find
wisely.
favor with. The Persian rug salesman had a much bigger prize in mind.
I would say if you don't do the podcast with him, you're helping the establishment and you're helping a guy named Joseph Biden. I think you're helping.
Honestly, bro, this is probably the reason Joe Rogan fucking had Trump on his podcast. Like, he always said he wouldn't, and then he just did one day. And this dude had to have had like the biggest.
That's kind of weird. You're helping Joseph Biden win by not interviewing Trump.
Did you come on this podcast specifically?
No.
Yes.
Trump?
No. You brought up Trump multiple times. I never brought it up.
It seems like you did. I think you did.
I could tell you, Joe, don't go live with this podcast. And keep it until after you do Trump's interview.
Yeah, Rogan saw right through that, and PBD denies it, but at this point, the gift basket's sitting on the table, the book is there as well, and the Trump pitch has been brought up
Just feeding these guys.
times. This is the entire PBD playbook in a single appearance. This is why I call him the Persian rug salesman. He comes in with the gifts, showers Rogan with praise, and then tries to manipulate him. But the JRE appearance
succeeds.
didn't ruin PBD's career. If anything, it accelerated it. It taught him that the gift and pressure formula works on Rogan, and he's been running variations of it ever since. He's number 5 on this list because the gift-giving episode is, in retrospect, the moment we should have all seen what he was actually doing. The entire grift was sitting on the desk in carefully wrapped boxes with his book tucked underneath. Now we're getting into the weeds, guys, because coming in at number 4 is the self-described investigator of forbidden knowledge. He runs a website called forbiddenknowledge.com where you can buy Anunnaki t-shirts, grounded flip-flops, and an alchemical elixir of the Anunnaki starter pack containing 2 products called Starfire Gold and Colloidal Silver, which he claims will increase your energy, mental clarity, and superconductivity. You know, like Alpha Brain. By the way, I'm not making any of that up. He came on JRE and laid out his actual worldview, and Joe just...
Looking at plane, it clears the horizon in seconds, not minutes.
I don't remember this dude. I don't think I saw that.
Falsifiable, a UFO sighting nobody else witnessed.
Who else,
he
man?
was riding high.
And me, I've alchemically converted that energy into money. That's exactly what I've done.
Yeah, this guy's so scary. Look how composed he is the entire time. He's not visibly losing it or yelling. He's explaining all of this with the calm, even tone of a man giving you directions to the nearest bathroom. That's what makes Billy different from your average crash out. He believes every word.
Camera keeps freezing,
not
man.
performing. He's processing reality through the Anunnaki filter and arriving at everyone who disagrees with me is part of an organized conspiracy run by dark forces I've been chosen to fight. He even brought up a Star Wars reference to prove his point. I mean, Jesus, really? But then all of this gets Joe Rogan's attention, and so a few weeks later, Wes Huff goes on JRE himself.
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
You're supposed to...
couldn't have made anywhere close to the splash.
No.
That it's made. And we told him that. We said, like, hey, Barbra Streisand effect is going to happen.
It's one of those things.
Then he started throwing out cease and desist letters. And then he started...
Oh, this dude, bro.
Not good.
Terrence
you
Howard.
tell us stuff that's not true, that we can tell is not true. And then we say, okay, I can throw out the entirety of what he's saying. Well, 1 times 1 is not equal to 2.
Yeah, it is.
In fact, I'm angry at Joe because Joe should have pushed back on that. Joe is in awe.
The calculator says 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1.
Each time you do that, I want to slap you and say, don't do that.
That's crazy.
This is one of the failures of Joe's bullshit detector.
That line should be tattooed on the JRE studio wall. This is one of the failures of Joe's bullshit detector. That's the central problem with Terrence Howard's appearance on JRE. Terrence destroyed the consequent was that he's worked the pyramids for over
people. I'm not arguing. I'm just telling the people.
I'm just fascinated by the discovery itself.
Okay,
so what does it look like?
But Zahi can't let it go because his entire approach is reactive. He came...
I thought this one was probably better off just me.
Dude, oh yeah, this dude had a dude on. He had a guy on who was like recovering from being like fucking crazy and out of prison. Joe Rogan platformed him and then he killed somebody. Like,
definitely about the next.
Yeah, I know. Guy. Jamie and I were both talking about. I think he's gonna bring somebody in.
I promise.
Pretty sure that's what happened. Man, I just made that up.
They will be vetted.
Yeah.
The guests will be vetted a lot more thoroughly.
That's how the apology episode opens, but we'll come back to that apology episode shortly because to understand why Joe and Dubin owed the audience an apology, getting the podcast with civil rights.
Roll boy let him out eyes with me. There was no fist.
And then the new...
You just intelligent?
Simple processes his feelings. Joe absorbs
that was number
who's
1.
currently in jail awaiting trial.
That's fair.
Not just for Colin Small, who's fucking dead, but for every person Josh Dubin has ever helped get out of prison legitimately, because their stories are now harder to tell. Every advocate working on innocence cases now has to answer for the time Josh Dubin and Joe Rogan put a man on JRE.
That's cool. Alright, I'm gonna get off. Short stream. Just gonna chill.